Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, hey, it's Ashleigh.
Hey, Peter.
Hey.
Hey
I didn't know
guys.
you'd be joining us. It's awesome.
Yeah, we thought
Surprise.
that we would surprise you guys.
Oh,
Thanks again for arranging this, Frank.
This is awesome. This is great. It's actually like one of those kind of converging ideas that just kind of came together really quick. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's like a party in the morning. Well, depending on your time zone.
Yeah.
For us, it's the morning. I think, I know Tiffany's is coming 15 hours away. So she's more like late at night. So, God bless her for being a part of
Does
it.
that work?
Yeah.
15 hours apart? Is that like, oh,
Yeah. So she's like in the future.
ah, we got to find out what it's like
Yes.
in Friday.
Yeah. So hopefully she will be joining us soon. But
Yeah, no worries.
anyway, so Ashleigh was kind enough to join us. How's it going, Ashleigh, by
Come
the
hang
way?
out.
How are things?
Going great.
I know that there's a recent addition in the last year or two. I know that you've been, having the challenges that come along with that. How is that?
Oh, yeah. My son is almost 2.
Wow.
He's
No way.
adorable. He's starting to do really cute things like sing and dance. Yeah, he's awesome. We
Yeah.
just had a
Perfect.
fun
That's
Mother's
perfect.
Day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad. And you guys just moved and now it's the house.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Tiffany didn't forget or fall asleep.
Might be too
Nice,
late.
maybe we can
worked around her schedule.
we can ping her on Discord.
Good idea.
Do
Good to see everyone.
Hey,
Sorry, my
Michael.
camera was like flipped. I was like, what was it's never done that before? So actually, good to see you again. I didn't know you'd be joining us. This is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good to see you too.
Well, guys, I'm excited about this, and we'll go as long as everyone's schedules permits. Hopefully, within the hour. If there's a little bit of overspill,
no
we'll
worries.
let Ashleigh get back to her life. I just am so grateful
Oh.
that she came to even grace us with her presence. And I think, as you know, to me, this is celebrating both your achievements of what you guys accomplished, the three of you, with regards to the Blizzard internship, which is pretty damn amazing. And then on top of that, just kind of little accolades to, I guess the accomplishment and Ashleigh's role on air. There you go.
It's Tiffany.
Tiffany has made
Oh,
it.
good. You got them.
Yay.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hey.
It's a party now. Look at this.
No, there we go.
And your teacher has arrived to kind of join us for a little bit of this. It's a love fest in the morning or in the evening.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I guess to get it started, today, and so glad that all of you can make it. I mean, first of all, how do you feel? How are you feeling about this opportunity? I imagine for a lot of you, this is something that you've been thinking about for a while. And I'll just start with, let's start with Peter, how do you feel about the opportunity?
You can't stop thinking about it. Like holy smokes, that's incredible. And I remember I had talked to someone, an alumni from our university, Marie Lazar, who had come to Michigan State at the time. This was years ago, and she was telling me all about this contest and everything, and it felt like such a far away thing to like. That's cool, but I'm nowhere near there. So maybe we're just gonna keep doing whatever drawing class I was in at the time, and now it's just really surreal to be there right now.
What was the when you got? Was it an email correspondence? Was it a phone call?
Oh, they called.
Oh, they called.
That's
That's great.
They call you too as well. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like eating lunch. I had this peanut butter sandwich, and I was munching on it, and then I get a call, and it was like unidentified caller from Irvine, California. I was like, yeah, I mean, I just like pick up all calls on principle, just in case it's someone I should mess with, like telemarketer or something, you can waste their time. But then they said, "Oh, hi, I'm Michelle from Blizzard." And I was like joking on my sandwich, like, oh, geez. Can you repeat that again?
Did you have to physically restrain yourselves from getting the news? Case in point, many years ago, I'm older than even my beard allows, but I remember getting the letter when they would tell you by letter the internship at Disney Animation, and I physically leaped in my spot like if I had won $10 million. That's how big a news it was for me. It was a visceral, spontaneous reaction. And that's, and I would probably put for people who are in interactive, who are shooting for interactive, Blizzard being that caliber of an accomplishment. And that's why it was so exciting to kind of hear that three of you guys came out of CGMA with Ashleigh, who's one of our star instructors, and it just felt like we needed to acknowledge this in some way. And initially the idea was to kind of talk to you individually, but I was like, no, this is like, we're going to bring people together. We're going to make this virtual experience meaningful. Hopefully you guys get a chance to actually find each other at Blizzard. I don't know if you're going to be working virtually or if you're going to be, what's that going to be like? I mean, what's the configuration in this post-COVID age?
Oh, well, right now we're all remote. Let's see. When do you guys all start? In like a month or two?
I start in June.
Yeah, I'm June 21st.
Yeah, we're supposed to still be remote then. But we try to do a lot of like, video calls and like team bonding type activities. And usually when someone new joins our team, we do like a lunch with them and we all like order lunch and stuff. So we try to make it feel like we're actually meeting you and hanging out and stuff, even though we're still remote for a while.
And you got to do a test run last year, right?
Last year
with interns over
we had
the summer?
interns, but we didn't have any on the prop team last time, so I'm not sure exactly how it went. But yeah, we still had interns last year too.
Cool.
Cool. So I have a couple of questions. I know I threw out the "how did it feel" moment. Piers was the first to answer. Does anybody want to kind of respond? Tiffany, you have this big smile on your face, like you just can't help it. Come on, tell us.
Yeah,
what did it feel
I'm
like?
super excited. Actually, when I first got the call, I'm not in the US right now, so the people at Blizzard had a hard time reaching me. So I was really scared because I just got an email like someone at Blizzard was trying to reach me and they couldn't. And I was like, oh no, was there something wrong with my submission? Like, did I write my name wrong or something like that? I was like overthinking it a whole bunch. But then when I got the call, I was so happy with the news.
It's funny that you think that way. I'm thinking if there were mistakes with the submission or anything, you probably wouldn't have even gotten a call. So they would have said on to the next candidate. But anyway, no, it's funny how us artists sometimes think that way. We get a little concerned, and there's that whole nervousness and paranoid of our work being acknowledged, and that makes us very vulnerable in a lot of ways to that, when you put yourself out there. But when you get the win, there's nothing like it. And I think that's, probably what's amazing. Michael, you've been quiet. I mean, what was it like for you? I want to hear a little bit of your slice of what it was like.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I also applied for the level design internship, and I had an interview with them. And like, you can be kind of like overly critical on yourself. And I was like, oh, I didn't get it. I'm terrible. But then I got the call that I got runner up. And then like an hour later, Michelle called back. She's like, by the way, you also got the level design internship. So it was a pretty good day.
Yeah, I call it the psychology and neurosis of being an artist.
Yeah.
How to manage those emotions.
Yeah.
Wow. So all of you sound like maybe you've been on your digital track for a while, but I also don't want to make any pure assumptions on how long you've been on this. You know, when a lot of us who are artists start when we're relatively young, but some people pick it up a little bit later. I would love to hear a little bit about that journey before you got to Ashleigh's class. I mean, does anybody want to start?
Yeah, I can start. Or
Yeah.
Go for it, Michael.
Okay, yeah.
No,
Yeah, I actually started art pretty late. You know, everyone draws a little bit when they're a kid, but it's just like a little bit. I actually really got started with art when I was like 17. And so it's been, there's definitely things where I've like, you know, comparing myself to classmates that have just been drawing their whole life. I'm like, okay, they're just like way better in some ways. So I think 3D kind of helped me work around some of the limitations that I had from not drawing from a really early age. That being said, I still want to work on drawing and get good on it just for myself, because like I just see people being able to like really quickly like sketch up this whole crazy idea, and I'm like, oh, I want to be able to do that one of these days. But yeah, I got started pretty late, and I was still able to like, if you just get good instruction, you can still make up a lot of ground, and if you just work really hard, then you can really make up a lot of ground.
Yeah, the older I've gotten in my career, the more I realize, you know, talent is one thing, but being persistent and, you know, which is basically another word for courage, is probably more important. So I think that part is great to hear, because a lot of people could be in your category of having started at a different point in your life. How about you, Tiffany? What was your kind of prior to this class? What were your, you know, sort of art exploration, so to speak?
I think I'm kind of on the opposite end of Michael. I drew a lot, and I only drew for a long time. I didn't actually get into digital art until pretty late. Basically, around when COVID started was when I really started to learn digital art. But before that, I studied a thing called human factors engineering in college, which is kind of like design thinking. So it's a lot of design principles, but applied to engineering. So I would take a lot of the principles there and combine. I also do a little bit of fine art, just like drawing in traditional media. And having that training from just being able to draw was made the transition to going to digital a lot easier for me.
Awesome, terrific. And how about you, Peter?
Wow. Man, you're so smart, Tiffany. It's like, oh man, my art degree. We had a really good program in high school and in elementary school. Even like they have like this arts, like they have 3 arts teachers, I guess, that teach like drawing, ceramics, and metalworking and stuff. So like we got a broad spectrum of kinds of mediums, I guess. And then I started digital art kind of around the same time as Michael. Yeah, like well, it'd be like, 18 was when I got my first tablet, and then just poking around with that and trying to figure out how to do the whole Photoshop thing in college. And I went to Michigan State for an undergrad, and have been now taking classes at a CGMA and local university. So
terrific. And Ashleigh, I was going to ask you, as you know, obviously been there, done it in a lot of ways. Can you relate to some of their stories? Obviously, I know you come from an illustration background initially, and then you made the transition. So when you hear these stories, it's just like, yeah, I got you.
I think I'm kind of similar to like Tiffany and Peter. Like I have been doing art since I was a little kid, but it was all like drawing and painting and stuff. I didn't do any digital until I was like 18 when I went to college. And then I just did illustration for my undergrad. And I didn't even think about doing game art until I was like 22. And I decided to go back to school and do a game program. And then I learned 3D when I was like 22 and did a 2-year program.
All right, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I guess, did you guys have a lot of family support on this front? I mean, it's always a sliding spectrum, sometimes you get people come from, at least one member in the family was an artist, and so they're sort of batoning at least that inspiration to the kids. And then you get other, ends of the spectrum where it's like there were no artists. Where you're just like,
Yeah.
how did I arrive in this family? And I don't know if anybody can relate, but my question mainly on that front is, the support system to help you with that. What was it like? Did you get that support, or were you kind of sort of on your own, charting your own course?
Oh, I feel very fortunate that my family is super supportive. I know a lot of friends had horror stories of their family being like, no, go be a lawyer. You should steer clear of art forever. Like, why do you want to make video games? But when I initially got into that path and now doing this contest, my parents are like, oh yeah, like we're a teacher and an accountant, but we had always wanted to do art and just kind of gave up on our dreams somewhere along the way. So like, go be great. It's just feels good.
Wow. That's awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, I feel like no one in my family is an artist. So I think when my parents knew that I wanted to be an artist, they were really scared. They were like, oh, what is that? Like, what exactly does that mean? But they've been very supportive so far. I try to share as much about the industry as I can with them, and they've been really supportive so far.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my mom was also pretty supportive. I mean, anything I wanted to do, like when I was younger and I was like changing my mind all the time, she would just be like, oh yeah, you'll do that. And I was like, okay.
No, that's
Good
great.
for her.
That's awesome. No, as a parent with a teenager now, it has been interesting to see the evolution of that decision making. And it has evolved. And sometimes it even comes full circle. They start on a path, drop it, and then suddenly out of the blue, it's like, yeah, I like it again. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get a heart attack here. But you can't really say that because, you're trying to be a supportive parent. So yes, I get it. All right. I'm glad you guys are smiling and laughing because it is true. And when you have your own kids, you will definitely feel
Imagine.
So, okay. You guys are obviously chose interactive. Obviously, there's a reason for it, as opposed to maybe going the route of animation or live action. What was your kind of early inspiration? Were you guys always Blizzard fans, or did you guys kind of start with other kind of interactive experiences that sort of inspired you to kind of be in it, but then found Blizzard later? Tell me a little bit about that story.
I like in terms of games and content and stuff, I was a big fan of Super Smash Bros. Because that was the first video game I'd ever gotten to play with friends and stuff. And they were like, oh, you gotta come check this out. And then I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, oh my gosh, like Legos are one thing, but then video games. So I was like looking at it from that lens and kind of the stylization of a lot of Nintendo stuff. And then my dad had gotten me a big Blizzard art book at some point along the line. And it was like this thick or something. Yeah. But I hadn't played World of Warcraft up until that point. But it was always like watching over friends' shoulders and stuff and asking all these questions about lore and stories. And I think by high school I was pretty hooked. So just even the world of it,
Any other experiences people want to share on that front? Inspiration?
Yeah, I think for me, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, so World of Warcraft was actually the first game that I played. I didn't really start getting into video games until around middle school. Yeah. I know a lot of other people grew up with like consoles, but World of Warcraft was the first game that I played. And I think just that experience of going into like this really immersive world with really amazing art, that whole experience was life-changing for me. And I think I knew from that point that I wanted to be someone who made that kind of stuff for other people.
Yeah, I started playing games at a pretty young age. I actually think the first Blizzard game I played was Warcraft 3 when I was pretty young. And then I found out that there was World of Warcraft where it was set in a 3D universe where you could walk around and stuff. And I was just like, I loved it, but it was really hard because I started playing when I was like really little and I didn't know what to do. And I would like wander off to the wrong area and get killed and get scared and stuff. Yeah, I basically been playing WoW ever anytime I could afford having a subscription, I've been playing WoW. So yeah, long time.
Ashleigh, I was going to ask you just from the Blizzard perspective, and how that's. I always see it on the job descriptions in Blizzard that characteristic of being not only into interactive, but as a subset, being cognizant of maybe Blizzard's products. That's an important attribute for people coming into Blizzard. Can you tell me a little bit more about why that's important to Blizzard?
Yeah, it's definitely, we try to hire people that are fans of Blizzard games, especially the one you want to work on. So hopefully you're already a WoW player if you want to work on WoW. But a lot of people that we hire don't have a lot of experience, or they just like that kind of art. And then they started playing because they like the art. But some people have been playing forever. When I got hired, I had been playing for years. I started playing in college and I got really into like raiding and stuff and not doing my homework and playing WoW instead, which kind of worked out. But
it's a different kind of homework.
yeah, turns out it was.
It's such a nice
studying
excuse
all
I
the
have
time.
now. It's such a nice excuse. No, I'm learning the game, Mom.
Yeah, you need to. But one reason it's important for WoW especially is because the game has been out for like, what is it, 15 or 16 years now? And there's so much history and there's so much depth and like lore and all this stuff to know about the game. And it really helps if you know a lot of that stuff before you start. Because, we try to, when we make art for a specific culture, we have to know what that culture looks like and what they feel like and what they're not like. And it's like, have to know how to make something look like it goes with dwarves and make sure you don't make it look human instead or something like that. So knowing the history and like really knowing the look from being a player helps a ton when you start.
Yeah, it's also great that they release classic World of Warcraft too, so you can really get a good understanding of what the game looked like before all in this expansion Cataclysm. They changed all the old zones, so it's really cool to get this look of like what it all used to be like and stuff.
Yeah, that's important too.
Yeah.
So I want to start, and I kind of mentioned it in the email that I had sent you guys before. I wanted to get a sense of maybe if you had the ability. I don't know if you guys have brought any kind of samples with you or have you on the computer with regards to some of the things that you took away from Ashleigh's class, because there was obviously a reason why you picked Ashleigh's class to be a part of. And then I would love to just kind of see, why that particular project worked for you, what you got and how it helped you for potentially the next project. And I'm going to ask maybe each of you present maybe a different part of Ashleigh's class, if that's okay. Does anybody want to start with, like I know the first project, I love the first project. Does anybody want to talk
about cubes?
Yeah,
the cube.
Yeah, we touched on a little bit on this. The three of us were talking on Discord, trying to figure out what was our favorite project, and I think I really took the cubes the first assignment just because I'd done some YouTube tutorials. Like I'd made some tutorials mostly for myself and trying to figure out how to paint hand painted textures and stuff. So this felt like a very similar kind of assignment. Maybe I could share.
Yeah, go ahead. Do a little share screen if you can. Cool.
Let's figure out the screen.
Yeah, and I would, if you have, if Peter's going to show the cubes. Maybe Michael, you want to pick maybe another stage in the class, and then Tiffany, you want to maybe pick your part and just have that ready. That'd be great. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So
That's good.
thank you. Yeah. So these were my cubes, and this was like it's always really cool to see what different people do with these, because it's like I was thinking very like stone or architecturally minded, and then kind of threw in a wood box, like a typical crate there at the end. But I saw people do all sorts of things like a little bird cage or something. And I think beyond just seeing what it's like more than just a tiling texture, which is usually what I was spending my time doing. This is like there's a little bit of lighting in the assignment, right, with the different planes of the cube, and then getting to play around with the materials was like a nice little micro project. And I think the best part about that too is like a one thing where Ashleigh could give us feedback and stuff, and I'd gone back in later to revamp things. So I think this was like this one of these. This was the original. So like this was the one I had originally handed in, and then Ashleigh was able to give some feedback and say, oh yeah, so like you need one of the things you said, Ashleigh, was you really like putting edge highlights on things to make it give it some sort of dimensionality and stuff. And just little insightful tips like that helped a lot, because then like this was the revamp, and I think the bubbles and little light spots helped a lot.
That's awesome. That's great to see this sort of evolution. What I love about what you did was you kind of took her feedback and next leveled it. And I think that's, probably one of the difference makers, as opposed to being maybe just taking, or looking for online data, but then no one's pushing you to see your work freshly. And I think that's definitely a difference maker for getting better. So this is great. I guess the other thing I love about this is that, even though it's, a simple shape, it really kind of forces you to kind of be inventive with this sort of limitation, and what can you do
very
special
much
on this. So I've not actually seen someone do like, sort of a mini, like a little, it almost looks like a cube fountain, which is awesome. And, I'm always astounded by the work that comes out of Ashleigh's class. I get a chance to pick them every semester. And by far, we get the most variety and consistent contributions of quality work. And that says a lot about the thought structure of the class, as well as, the kind of students that are being a part of this experience. So this is great. Did you have any other thoughts or takeaways besides that, Peter, on this project? These are beautiful. These are absolutely gorgeous.
It's great.
I think one thing, I mean, and I know this extends to the other projects too, but one thing that I really like about the CGMA format in general is the fact that you can see the other students' work and like the things you can pick to show. And, Ashleigh's provided the example at the start of the project, but then the fact that we can also go and see what other people have done and think, oh, that's really cool. And maybe I want to do something similar or go off in a completely different direction. And I think getting that bit of inspiration from our peers was one of the biggest things about the class too, beyond the instructor feedback.
Ashleigh, I brought you here, and now that you are here, I'd love to hear your take on, how you articulate the first project from an instruction perspective, when you first designed the class, because a lot of thought goes into creating an educational experience that is meaningful, challenging, and rewarding, and the student feels like they walked away with something that they didn't have before. Tell me the thinking behind it.
Well, this project is kind of like an intro to the class and like an intro to thinking about making hand painted game art. So I really like this one because it's really not about the 3D as much. And that kind of like sets your expectations for the class and for this kind of art. where like it really is more about the concept and your idea and your painting than it is about the 3D. Like 3D is important too, of course, but like models can be really simple and still look like amazing art just with having like really nice painted texture on it. So yeah, I think this is a great intro for the class. And it's also fun because it really shows me a lot about people's personalities, because people do such like wildly different things. Like every student does totally different like cubes, and each student will do 3 really different ones too. So I just love seeing like people's personality and their thought process with that. And it's just a good like intro to just like knowing what to expect with um, making your own ideas and knowing like how much effort it takes to paint a fully hand painted texture.
Perfect. That's great. All right. So who's next? Who wants to share something? Maybe the next iteration of where you are in the class. I know that there's an amazing tree project that you guys get a chance to do, which is slightly bigger than the cube. So I don't know if that's something that you want to share. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can go ahead and share about the tree project.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my camera's cutting out here. Let me see if I'll fix that. Well, Tiffany's presenting.
Zoom, it always crashes on you when you need it. Ooh. Great.
Yeah, so the second
So
project
good.
that we did in the class was the 2.5D tree. And I think it was a good segue between kind of what we did the first week, really focusing on the painted textures and going into the projects further along, which were fully modeled out. So the 2.5D tree is kind of done in a reverse order than the other models that we did. So we painted the textures first and then kind of folded the textures into the shape that we wanted. And here I have the concept for this piece. And I think Ashleigh had us do concepts for all of the projects for this course. But it was especially helpful for this project because of the reverse order. We had to know what pieces we wanted where before we started modeling, because we had to have all of the textures done before we even got into the snack. So I think just having that mentality from the very start of having a plan before going into modeling or before going into texturing, so you know what pieces you want to get done and kind of what amount of time you have for each of those individual pieces, so you can space out your time better. Yeah. That was my main takeaway from doing this project. And so here's the final piece that I had. It was based off of like these types of aquariums called Blackwater aquariums, which are just making aquariums is a hobby of mine. So it was really fun having that part of my life and putting that into my art. And what I wanted to capture was that atmosphere of like the really orange tinted water and the sunlight coming in and making everything really bright orange. So yeah, that was a fun challenge, trying to figure out how to portray the lighting and the way that it played off the different materials for this project.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Great. Yeah, that's gorgeous.
I love to see the concepting portion of this, that's introduced. You could have probably, Ashleigh, designed a class that had everyone looking at the same thing and just model this, and that's it. What I love about what you are doing is you're allowing artists to kind of inject themselves, their personalities, their outlooks in life, their sense of style and design into these projects. And you get things that, feel like the students feel like they're really owning their work at every stage of the process. I imagine, is that part of the experience that you get a chance to do a little bit at Blizzard, in terms of some of the workflow, or how much of that dynamic, do you get a chance, do you do your own concepting at Blizzard?
I do, yeah.
Mm.
That's a big part of the job. And I think of most game studios, you're doing your own concept art a lot of the time. It's actually pretty rare that we have a viz dev team, but usually they work on like big picture kind of images to set the whole like mood and feel of a whole like zone or continent or something. But I have to make my own concepts for each individual like game asset that I make. So yeah, doing your own concepts is a really important skill. And also, it's important to me that people who take my class get good portfolio pieces out of it for when they apply to jobs and stuff. And it's a better portfolio piece if it's your own idea. Like you wouldn't want to see, like a lot of people will do art that's based on somebody else's concept. But to me, when we're like hiring and interviewing people,
Yeah.
it's much more interesting to me if I see someone do something that's their own idea. So yeah, I think I really wanted that to be part of the class so people would have strong portfolios that they could use for applying to jobs if they want.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's important to get that perspective so that people definitely know that they can actually get work on the strength of their own ideas. And it's important to hear that, because depending on where you go in the field, sometimes it's just like, make this, and, do I have a say in what that looks like? Sometimes it's not always present. Sometimes it's exactly what they want you to do. Another case, you get the elbow room to be creative. And if that's the experience, wow, I think the world's a better place for that, because we get the benefit of individuals putting their best selves out there. So this is great. Okay. The next project or iteration that you had, we had the 2.5D tree. Does anybody want to kind of share and show that one? I think it's a prop, all right?
You mean the sci-fi one?
Or I mean, that was so Tiffany's is a tree, the cubes.
Sci-fi prop, I think was.
Yes, I love that project.
So?
I love that project, and I love the project that Ashleigh does with the I guess it's a sort of a module, like a desk module, and it's
so fun
with the kitty theming. And
oh yeah,
fun sci-fi. I love that. I love when
so good too.
I remember when we saw the videos coming through, and I just could not resist having just this big grin on my face. And I was like, oh, that's so, and what was great is that her drawings were cute in the concept phase, and it just got even more cute as it got into 3D. So anyway, all right. Let's go for it, Michael.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So, okay, should I show the sci-fi or the environment next?
I would say whatever you want to show at this juncture. So I'm giving you a little bit of room to decide. How about that?
Great. I'll probably show the environment. That one, I finished the sci-fi, but I wasn't as crazy as how it came out. So,
all right.
Right, cool. Yeah. So this was the environment, and so we had 5 weeks to do an environment in a stylized way in anything of our choice. So I did like a WoW style, and this one really taught me how to work quickly and efficiently, because we had 5 weeks plus I was working, plus my university was in session again, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and so I had to learn how to be kind of like efficient. Let me see, where's my, so like when I turned in the concepting phase of the first week, in Maya I made the models to like paint over, and so I could reuse those models when I actually started the environment. And I also gave her like quick texture samples over here, and then wherever I could I tried to kind of like, there's the render, wherever I could I tried to reuse certain textures. So this trim of the teapots and stuff I also used at the base of the building. And so I was trying to reuse textures and stuff. And so I learned how to be pretty efficient with my textures and really manage my time well. And then I did some quick revisions too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
So I want to ask you this question from the way the class felt on from day one when you first started the cube to arriving at this stage. Did you feel like it was something that you could handle, in terms of what I call the learning gradient? Did you feel like that was a good way to, or were there times during the class where you felt maybe a little overwhelmed?
I felt pretty much okay. Even with, it was a lot of work, but even with doing other things like working in school, I was still able to get everything finished. Not everything was like as polished as, like, you can see here, this is like missing some polish and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I also think I could have even managed my time a little bit better. So I think the class work is like just right. And it's also, she makes it pretty scalable. So like I picked something that was kind of hard too. Like a lot of people took much smaller environments. And so you can kind of work it in that direction too, where you can choose something that's a little bit simpler to make, because she gives a pretty general prompt, like a sci-fi prop. So that could be anything from like a cool flashlight to like an actual spaceship or something, depending on how you want to scale it up.
Got it. Cool. And from a teaching perspective, Ashleigh, I mean, I guess by design, that gradient is important from a learning perspective, correct?
Oh yeah, I design the class so that it ramps up in like difficulty. So you start with the cubes and it's like an easier kind of fun project. It's still a lot of work to paint 3 of them, but it's much simpler. And then you ramp up to like more and more modeling and like more complex, bigger scenes and stuff. But I think it's a good ramp up in difficulty. I didn't want people to start with like a huge, overwhelming scene. And then the scene is like broken down in each 5 weeks. Yeah. You do a different part of it. So I tried to plan it so that it's like manageable pieces each week. But yeah, it really depends on like how big you want to go too. Like you can do any of the projects as like smaller, simpler pieces, or you can go really big and have like a big building and mountaintop like this one if you want. But you can scale it to like how much time you have, like how much experience you have. Try to make it very flexible for lots of different kinds of people.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you guys, what was the value of Ashleigh's feedback to you in terms of your growth? I mean, how would you even quantify that in terms of your learning experience?
Ooh.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I would say
it's like,
it was so helpful for me. Yeah, I think just having, I think in general, just having someone who's not yourself look at your art and give you feedback, even that is really helpful. But to have someone who's a trained professional who can give you tips on like the big picture as well as the technical details, that was just super helpful for my learning.
Yeah, and having a Blizzard artist too, just, tell you a lot of the secrets and stuff was a huge help. And in addition to just like, she had a lot of just really good general art tips of, how to use warm colors and cool colors and stuff. So yeah, my stuff got like way better just off the crits, even got way better.
Mm-hmm. I think very much like what Michael's saying. Yeah, like Ashleigh has a lot of best practices to follow and making art and stuff, especially in the style. And that's not something like in the Midwest. I'm grew up in Ohio here, so there's not a lot of people making games in Ohio, so we don't have the access to that kind of we don't have access to professionals in the industry as much. So like a class like CGMA where we can just get direct feedback from Ashleigh is really nice. And I think for me it was learning to prioritize the work and figuring out like, focal points need more detail. Maybe not everything needs to be highly rendered, depending on how much time you have. You probably don't have time to do that. And I like what Michael did with that environment where it's like you did the concept and texture samples just enough to give the idea of where you're going, and then then you just hop right into the project versus, you didn't have to spend weeks and weeks and weeks on this concept. And I think that was the week by week progress is really important to keeping at least me accountable. Where you just said, all right, all you need to do is a tree this week. Just do the tree plant stuff, and then we'll tackle the structure next.
Ashleigh, I wanted to talk to you about the concept of feedback from not only the instructor's perspective, but also working in a team format. I think, my question is regarding feedback in general, the idea that feedback is a source point for allowing people to grow. But it happens in different circumstances. You have different clients. How important, from a teaching perspective, is the way you deliver that feedback to students? And is it any different than the kind of feedback that you give to colleagues, juniors, or other people in other departments outside your normal, discipline?
Well, feedback is definitely a super important part of my job. I'm giving feedback and receiving feedback all the time. We have a weekly meeting on my team where we just critique each other's work. And yeah, I've been working on WoW for 8 years, and I still get feedback all the time and have to change things and iterate on things because we're a huge team, and the trick is trying to get 100 artists to work together to having a consistent look to everyone's art and make everything fit together when you have that many people. So yeah, feedback is super important. The feedback I give to students is really similar to the feedback I give at work, except with students, it's their idea. They don't have to match something that other people are doing. So I'm just trying to help them improve their idea. I try not to tell people exactly what to do too much. I try to take their idea and just make it better and make it fit their goals better. But I'm not telling people to redo their whole thing or anything like that.
Got it. So it's a little slightly different, maybe a combination of the words to get them working rather than maybe feeling a little discouraged sometimes, especially if you're not used to getting feedback on your work. What should my attitude be? I mean, I think that's the other thing, you're dealing with, artists in general. I know that even at my age, there's that little part of me internally. I know what my mindset should be intellectually. I know that it should be open. It should be willing to hear, alternative viewpoints. But there's a part of me emotionally that sometimes, struggles with that. You receive it in a way that maybe feels a little bit, and it's hard to find that balance, So, I guess because we're among artists, is that something that we can all work on, I guess, from a maturity standpoint, because I know when I first got my first critique, I wasn't all shiny about it, even though I know I was there for the purposes of learning. But the goal is to get there, because of what it means to the team dynamic, I guess, so how do you guys handle it personally? It's oh man, I just got my butt. Or if it's, what's that like for you guys?
I think this is a very gentle setting to get feedback into, where you can record all this and send it out to us. But I think the Discord too is really helpful, where we ask a public question to the class, and then you respond, and there's a little bit of that class atmosphere. I remember at Michigan State, I once did a painting and had put it up. Mine was the first in class, and we had it was hanging on the wall, and they tore into it for 20 minutes until it was a guest critique, and then the teacher had to say, okay, that's enough. I'm sorry about that. I think I think you can tear someone else a new one, but like this feels so, I guess, safe. Like it's a good little microcosm of that.
I think that's important to hear because, I personally, from a work perspective, have definitely experienced the range of behaviors from, very thoughtful, meaningful, kind positioning of language and tone to be able to, get me to move in a direction. And then I've heard the other extreme where it's just like, it's very rote, cut and dry, fix this, fix that,
Yep.
hate that, and that's it. And it'd be interesting to kind of hear on the cultural aspect at Blizzard. If do you guys strive for a certain cultural dynamic in terms of how feedback is given? I'd like to think, in my mind, because of who you are, Ashleigh, that's just everywhere in Blizzard. But maybe not everyone, is I mean, to me, I want to take all your advice, Ashleigh, because of the way you are, the tone of your voice, how you position it. I think it's the kind of thing that is, but a lot of those things can vary. And, I guess you have to deal with varying personalities. And, all right. Anyway, Ashleigh, I'm not here to, I would love to, I want to believe everyone at Blizzard is like you.
Yeah.
Most people are like super nice. It's kind of, I mean, everybody's like nice. Nobody's a jerk, but we have to just be super honest sometimes. So it's kind of in the middle. It's like nobody's saying anything to like be mean or hurt anyone's feelings, but sometimes you do have to be kind of direct and be honest about something not working. But I think the biggest thing is like we just try to give reasons for the feedback that we're giving and not just say like, I don't like it. You have to explain like what specifically isn't working and like what you would change. So people have like useful feedback that they can actually use easily, and it's not like vague feedback or anything like that. People have different styles when they give feedback, though. I think like everybody I work with now is awesome. I've definitely worked with some people in the past who were like a little more, a little too honest sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just depends on people's personality, but nothing compares to like the art teachers I had in college or anything. They were brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny to hear about. I've taught at the college level, and we were kind of the gauntlet, as a modeling class. They're the first big, what I call wall of fire class, because the volume of work that we kind of asked the students to do. Which was a good segue to the other question, in terms of the approach of the class design. I love that you built the class where you are getting the students to make a lot of work, not only on the 3D side, but also the 2D side. I think just the concept path alone could have been a lot just to do that. Then you have, working in 3D and all the challenges there, depending on where your sliding scale of 3D skills are. Then you have texturing, and then you're going into, some version of a game engine, whether it's Marmoset or, if you're, going into Unreal or whatever you're using. So there's a lot to do in the class, but I love that despite that, it just seems like the response by students seems to be their game. And that's what I think is really important, especially when you're learning. There's a time for volume, where you just work on one project. And then there's another time where you're giving them a lot. And I think your class is kind of like the right balance of, volume and quality expectations. And, I think that's why it's been so successful. Now, did you guys use or know each other in the same class, or did you take her class at different semesters?
I didn't take it with either Tiffany or Peter. Did you guys have a class together?
Yeah, we were in the
Yeah.
same term.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
I
guys know.
just, well, yeah, I just knew Michael through your environment. I'd seen that before. I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome. Like,
Oh, thank you.
you look so cozy on a mountaintop. But
Does the Discord part of the experience help facilitate a little bit of what I call the hallway
Mhm.
conversations for the class? How's that experience
yes.
been for you in terms of that, especially because it's virtual and online learning?
Oh, absolutely too. Because like, especially with time zones, you know, you can just drop something in there and then people give reactions and feedback when they have the chance, rather than, you know, I do like the group Q&A stuff you did, Ashleigh, where, you know, everybody who can make it comes in. That's like a fun classroom setting, but I think the Discord is pretty critical, because I know a lot of us use that as more of a hangout now.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
I think-
go ahead.
Yeah,
Right,
I think the class setting was maybe one of the main reasons that I chose to take this class at CGMA instead of just going off of pre-recorded videos and doing those on my own time. I think having other people who are just as passionate as you are, encouraging you and giving feedback back and forth, that's just super helpful for morale just in general.
Excellent. Any final thoughts before we start wrapping up our Q&A here, guys? I know, Ashleigh, I mean, how proud are you of these guys? Just tell me what that feels like. Is it like a mother hen and it's chick, you know, what is that like from a teaching perspective, you know, for you?
Yeah, I'm just super proud. All three of you are just amazing students. Like, I knew from the start of the class that you were all going to be great and you were going to do great work in the class and just be super easy for me. But yeah, it makes me really proud, and it makes me feel like I'm helping people. It makes me feel good. I have a lot of experience now, and it just makes me feel like I get a lot of fulfillment out of trying to like pass on stuff I've learned to other people and help other people. But yeah, I mean, you guys did all the work and did everything to like get you where you are now, and I'm just super excited to like work with you soon.
Yeah, I know, right?
I know,
Gonna be
that's
a
so
good summer.
cool. That's great. I from a student perspective, you guys obviously, you know, did what you did to get Blizzard's attention. What are some final thoughts for future students of Ashleigh's class, or, you know, students in general at CGMA? What should their mindset be in terms of maybe some advice that you can give them? And I'll just take whoever's got, you know, some.
Yeah, I think for me, it's, you know, going in and realizing that everybody is at a different spot when we go into that class, and we all have something to learn from each other too. So whether you're more experienced or not as experienced, there's always somebody who's doing something amazing, like more than you can imagine that you could be doing at the moment. And at the same time, it's a great opportunity to help out people who might be more beginners to digital art and stuff. So I think participating as much as possible in the community of that class is key, because if you know, I remember there was some people, there's a little bit of a hubbub in the CGMA main chat where someone was like proliferating videos and stuff. And as one of the moderators put well there, they said, you know, like the videos handy, they're really well done and everything, but like 90% of the course is the teacher and the class. And if you don't have that, then you're missing out on the full experience.
Cool. Excellent. Any other thoughts, Tiffany, Michael?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Peter said. And to add on to my own thoughts, I think just being willing to experiment with trying things that you haven't done before, especially in this classroom setting where you have people giving you feedback. It's a nice place to experiment and try things that you haven't tried before.
Yeah, I would, and follow up on that. Yeah, I would say pushing it far when it comes to your idea too. I agree with Tiffany, it's important. And then also don't forget about your fundamentals too. I know it's hard sometimes when like you're doing like, you're trying to create portfolio pieces. It can be just easy to like, okay, I'm not going to do texture studies, or I'm not going to do any drawing or something, but really try to keep up with that, because that'll really pay huge dividends in your final pieces.
And Ashleigh, from a prerequisite standpoint on the class, me as a student, where should I be in terms of what I should already know, and just to kind of be able to take and benefit from what you are trying to do at this juncture where students pick up.
Yeah, so I think before you start the class, it's good to know at least some 3D modeling. You don't have to be like pro at it. You can just know like the basics of a program, and it can be any 3D program before you start, because it would be really hard to learn all of that and do all the work at the same time. So know at least some 3D modeling, and then have some experience in some kind of digital painting program. Photoshop is probably the best one, but I know a lot of people use things like Procreate too. So yeah, some modeling, some painting, and some drawing, even just drawing on like paper or whatever. Having some experience with that is good. And let's see. And I think another thing I would say for advice is just be clear about what your goals are before you start the class. Like, is your goal to work at a specific place? Is it to learn a specific skill or something? Just know what you want to get out of it before you start.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Terrific. So I know that you come from Blizzard, so you obviously have a whole frame of reference for the language visually that Blizzard style is for not only the studio, but also on individual projects, which can vary. Are there any other studios outside of Blizzard that you admire that are doing amazing stylized work that you say, well, they want to go in that direction? Is anybody that's looking at anything that's, apart from that? Just curious.
Yeah. Well, Blizzard's obviously the best.
Yes.
Yeah, but like Riot does amazing work too, like League of Legends and all their other games. I know they've got a lot of like R&D future stuff going too, so they're like expanding. Who else? Airship Syndicate, they make awesome stuff. They're probably the two other biggest like hand painted and stylized studios in the US. What else? I mean, I love like Nintendo. They're one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say those are the top ones.
Terrific.
But there's tons of other like smaller places too. There's a lot of options.
Now, for you guys before we end off, I mean, is this internship your first art job, or have you been sort of swimming in the industry prior to Blizzard, and this just happens to be the one you really wanted to get? It'd be interesting to get your perspectives. Maybe some of you guys are doing non-art jobs right now before this transition. It would be interesting to get that perspective as well.
Yeah.
Well, for me,
Tiffany, yeah, you've got you're doing a whole bunch of things that are not in the art realm, right?
Yeah, so this is my first art job of any sort, just professionally. And before that, I've been doing mostly engineering related work, mostly in aviation, a little bit in defense. So that's kind of the background that I'm coming from.
Terrific.
Wow.
Super cool.
So it's super exciting to be doing something, creative and fun.
Wow. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, it's my first it's my first art job. So I'm really excited from going to making $0 on things I make, or level design. So from making $0 to making more will be nice.
Yeah, awesome. I've been freelancing for a little bit. Just odd jobs. Sometimes game development, sometimes painting people's dogs. Like whatever you can find in that sense. But it's actually really funny because mid-class, Ashleigh was giving us some assignments, and I had gotten an interview for a short-term freelance gig, just like a couple of months, and they needed someone immediately who could, paint 2.5D trees and keeps. I was like, wait a minute, this is wild, and it's funny how closely it mirrored the assignments. Like, I know you created these courses, these assignments actually as a very big portfolio builder, like that kind of angle, but it's almost scary how close it was to what I was doing on the job too, like just creating small props, texturing props, and faking some of the 2.5D aspect of it. So directly applicable.
Excellent. This is great. So I just want to tell you, I'm going to end off here and just say thank you to each of you. From the student side, your enthusiasm, your energy, your focus, your example for setting a quality bar for what, just the fruits of that hard work in Ashleigh's class could lead to. And it's an amazing coincidence of the fact that all three of you guys came through CGMA, which is flattering to us. You actually kind of make what we do here. It's the reason why we exist as a school, to see you guys take these skills and then literally remake your lives. And we're so proud of you. Ashleigh, I just can't tell you enough how proud I am of you as an instructor. I remember when you were first making your videos and we were reviewing it, and I was like, I want to take her class.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I gotta make the time to do that, because it just looks like a wonderful runway to really getting into the world of creating stylized assets for video games. And we're so proud of your success and your continued success, both at work, which is amazing, at Blizzard. How many years is this going on, Ashleigh?
8 now.
Wow. So
Woo!
8 years.
Yeah.
That's is awesome.
That's great. And we just want to continue rooting for that level of success and bringing all those valuable work experiences into the teaching experiences, which is really the hallmark of what CGMA is all about. People who are bringing relevant information that's usable, knowledgeable, and current. And we want to make sure that our students are getting the best in that. And so I thank you all for being a part of this. This is truly special, and I wish you all the best. And can't wait to share this interview with Manny, Evangelist, CDO, and some of my marketing colleagues, because I think, that we've never done this before, by the way, where we just kind of got together, all the students in the class, and do this. And I think something special just happened. So I hope you guys keep in touch with each other.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely in June.
Guys, have a great rest of your days, wherever time zone that you land. And thank you again for your time.
Thanks for putting this together, Frank.
Thank you so much. This is great.
Take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.